Well, hello there everyone. There's an old story that I've been hearing a lot about lately. The story says that the mercury contained in the measles vaccine can actually cause autism. That is a big load of bullshit. No, if okay, don't take my word for it. Seriously, I don't want you to take my word for it. Because taking anybody's word for it is the best way to get screwed. So do the research yourself. It's very simple. First of all, ask yourself or go check out what exactly is autism. And by autism, you have to know that everything that is included in the autistic spectrum is part of autism. There's just different degrees of the same thing. It's a spectrum. So you've got worst cases, best cases. Not everybody is exactly the same. Not everybody has exactly the same symptoms. So first of all, go do some research on what is autism. What makes us say that this person or that person is in the autistic spectrum? Which are the so-called symptoms to look out for. After that, when you know how to see what is autism or the autistic spectrum, what does it look like? Go around, ask people who are in the autistic spectrum, talk to them, learn to know them, speak with them on different subjects, not only autism, but talk to them about anything. And if you want to find someone who is autistic or is in the autistic spectrum, it's very simple. There's a lot of forums online that are dedicated to that type of person. Either people living in the autistic spectrum or parents and families and friends of people living in the autistic spectrum. There's also probably a bunch of places for specialists that are trained to deal with people in the autistic spectrum. Now that you know what autism looks like, and that you know what autism sounds like, go and open a history book. Try to find in history if there are people that are showing those exact same symptoms or signs. You're gonna find a bunch of those. Very well-known people, like Albert Einstein, for example, and Leonardo da Vinci, or Nikola Tesla, or even Napoleon Bonaparte, the great French revolutionary. Those people were quite possibly in the autistic spectrum. That brings us to another question. Is being in the autistic spectrum such a bad thing? Because if you look on the news, if you look in movies, if you look around, they're going to depict you, the autistic spectrum. They're going to demonize it. You're really seriously going to demonize it. as if it's so bad that you need a cure. You need to be cured. Why? I mean, it's not a sickness. Because a sickness does not have good sides to it. There's no good side to having cancer or HIV or the flu, which is much more common. There are no good sides to those things because they are diseases. They suck. I mean, being sick sucks. It's not gonna make you happy. Okay, I'm not talking about people that are autistic and that are not non-verbal and totally non-functional. But those people are less than 10% of every case. Think about it. Most people that live in the autistic spectrum does not look like Rain Man. Actually, no people in the autistic spectrum look like Rain Man because Rain Man was not autistic. Rain Man had nipple poison. Don't have the same symptoms at all. So please stop confusing it. Please stop taking for granted everything that Hollywood shows you because they did not did their research properly. The character is supposed to be autistic, but the person they used to look at what the symptoms were was not an autistic person. It was somebody who had heavy metal poisoning in a serious case. Another thing, if you look back in history, Bonaparte, Da Vinci, Einstein, Tesla, none of those people had vaccines. None. You're talking about conspiracy theory? You want to bring out the fact that the government is poisoning your kids with mercury in order to be able to control them better. Do your fucking research properly. That is not the case. Although, quite frankly, trying to pass autism as a serious disease, as a bad thing, actually should open your mind on something. That someone somewhere doesn't want human beings to be able to do some thinking outside the box thinking. That is actually more accurate than saying that the vaccine caused autism. There are no more cases of autism than there was before. The word autism is applied now to something that was before about 20, 30 different words, and some cases that we just couldn't figure out what it was. There's not more cases. We just see them better and we give them one name instead of 30 different names. It is a natural mutation. And that's what it is. It's not a sickness. You won't catch it. You're born with it. Because nature has what we call sometimes mutations, like the musical ear. If you do a brain scan of a person with a musical ear, you're going to notice that their brain, some parts of their brain are a little bit different than the average neurotypical person. Which is the same thing with someone that lives within the autistic spectrum. Their brains are a little bit different than the average. Yes, it has some good sides, and yes, it may cause some problems, but most of those problems are caused by society. Because if you take that individual and put it in a different society, most of its problems are going to disappear. Because it's a socially oriented problem. That's it. That's another reason why you cannot apply the term disease to it. Because the disease is worldwide, which means you take one individual with a sickness, you switch him, you put him somewhere else on the planet, and the problems are going to stay the same. In the case of autism, you put someone in the autistic spectrum in Japan, for example, and they are going to have a lot less trouble being functional because Japanese society is different from our Western society, and the demands on an individual are going to be different. So it's a socially not really accepted here because somebody decided so. I don't know who. Seriously, find that person and give him a whack behind the head from my house. And if you're there, you're actually listening to me, and you've listened that long, and you're wondering, how can I know this? How can I say I speak for autism, contrarily to that autism speak bullshit? It's a company that's called like that, and that really seriously does not speak for autism. You want to know why? Because I am an Asperger, and my son is autistic. So I've lived with it for more than 30 years. And I did my research because I did notice when I was 4 years old that I was different from the other 4 years old around me. Yeah, I was capable of it at that age. Because at 4 or 5 years old, I was speaking like an adult, and it spooked every fucking adult around me. They didn't like it. Society didn't like it. They didn't like having a 4-year-old asking them some questions that even grown-ups are having trouble even thinking about those questions. They didn't like it. It made them uncomfortable. But that doesn't make me sick. It just makes me different. And I am longing for the day when people are going to be able to accept what is different without trying to label it, without trying to say you're abnormal. I'm not abnormal because there are other people like me. I still need to breathe, I still need to eat, and I still need to sleep, just like each and every one of you. I am just a little bit different in my skill set, but there is a lot I can give to the world. Just like every other person in the spectrum has something to give to the world. And everybody that is not in the autistic spectrum also has something to give to the world. So please try not to pass on that bullshit about the vaccines. The only thing you're doing by doing so is misinforming people. You're fueling and feeding the misinformation campaign. And because of people like that, we now have a serious worldwide measles problem, which we didn't have for more than 30 years now. I mean, it's so serious, doctors have a hard time being able to know that they have a measles case in there because they don't know how to recognize it. They were not trained. because there was no safety. That's the only thing that you're doing. You're not saving your kids from autism. You're condemning them to measles. Because actually, by the way, in case you didn't know, measles can kill